What is up, guys? Delboy here. So, Lawrence Okolie versus Isaac Chamberlain has been set. It's official for February the 3rd. This fight goes down at the O2 Arena in London, and I'm pleased it's happening. I have to say, I am surprised it's happening. When this fight was first talked about, I kind of expected it to go down when both guys were around British level. You know, I always felt when this fight happened, there would be a British title on the line. But that's not the case. It's actually going to be a 10-rounder. And as of right now, there's no sort of title on the line. So like the English title isn't on the line. Maybe nearer the time they'll make this a British title eliminator. Who knows? I'm not sure what's going to happen there. But I think it's a good fight. Obviously, it will do well in regards to interesting the hardcore boxing fan. Both Okolie and Chamberlain have a bit of a beef. You know, they've had a few altercations. Both guys are from London. Both guys are young in the same division on the come up. So naturally, they're going to clash. And I think that in itself is going to make for an interesting build-up. And it will definitely get people excited. And I for one, am pleased it's happening now. A lot of people are saying, well, it's too early, it's too early. Listen, man, I disagree, because ultimately, the winner and the loser, obviously the winner's going to go on. And if the loser is made of stern stuff and he's got his head screwed on correctly, then he'll get better and he'll learn from it. So to me, it's not a big deal. To me, it's better these two guys fighting now rather than both of them sort of fight 20 cab drivers and then fight each other. If you're going to do that, you might as well fight now, you know? So I, for one, am pleased it's happening now. Stylistically, I think it's a good fight. Obviously, Lawrence Okolie is the bigger man. He's listed as 6'5", which is very big for cruiserweight, whereas Isaac Chamberlain is listed as 6'2". Chamberlain is clearly the smaller man here. Okolie is obviously taller, and he's also longer. Not only that, Okolie is the much bigger puncher out of both guys. So physically, Okolie has all the advantages. To me, Okolie, he looks stronger, he's bigger, he hits harder, and I think he's even a bit quicker as well. Isaac Chamberlain, to me, looks like the better schooled boxer. He's got a better defense. He seems to have a better boxing brain from what I've seen. You know, he'll pop that jab. He'll keep you on the outside, try to counter, try to look for his openings and not rush them. He's not a destructive fighter. He's very much the boxer type. Defensively, he's got some decent moves. He can slip punches. He can sort of raise the shoulder a little bit to deflect punches. He can parry jabs. You know, he's solid defensively, and he does have a good boxing brain. And you can definitely tell that Isaac Chamberlain has learned a lot of his stuff in the gym. He's done a lot of sparring over the world. He's sparred the likes of Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder. He's sparred guys like that, and you can tell this guy's learnt his craft in the gym just by some of the subtle little moves he makes. Defensively, he is a lot better than Okolie, and I think his overall boxing brain is better than Okolie's. Having said that, I do still make him the underdog. A lot of people in the UK are favouring Isaac Chamberlain, and I can see why. Like I said, I can clearly see this guy as the better boxer, but let's not make him out to be something he's not. He's no Sugar Ray Leonard. He's no James Toney. He's no sort of Floyd Mayweather. Do you know what I mean? He's better than Okolie, but is it enough for him to get the win here? Is it enough for him to overcome the sheer size disadvantage? I'm not so sure. Chamberlain likes to come out with a high guard. He does sometimes revert into a shoulder roll type defense, and especially when Chamberlain's in the shoulder roll type defense, I can see Lawrence Okolie, being the taller man, just punching right over that shoulder and connecting with Isaac Chamberlain, because Chamberlain can be hit. I've seen him hit. I've seen him take shots. I've seen him take jabs. I've seen him take right hands over the top. These shots are there. Especially the right hand over the top, which to me is Okolie's best shot, that long right hand. And Okolie has obviously being 6'5" at cruiserweight, he's been punching down pretty much his whole pro career. So him punching over that shoulder roll is not exactly going to be a hard task. When Chamberlain is not in that shoulder roll type defense, his main stance is like that of a typical boxer. So he'll stand up upright with a high guard, and he'll pop that jab. whether he's going backwards or forwards. That's his stance essentially. And him doing that could give Okolie problems, but him sort of using a high guard and popping the odd jab, I'm not sure where he's going to win the rounds, because there's a lot of times in Chamberlain fights where he does that and he's outboxing his opponent, but he's not being that active. And yeah, it's okay doing that against journeymen where these guys have got no sort of skills and they're not going to fire back. But when you're doing it against a guy like Okolie, who's 6'5", who's got power, who's long, who's going to try and find you, I'm not sure that's enough to win rounds. Just him using that basic guard and jab, I'm not sure he's going to be doing enough. So when it's at range, although Chamberlain is a better boxer, don't be surprised to see Okolie landing the more jabs. Don't be surprised to see Okolie coming off better. So to me, Chamberlain needs to avoid that shoulder roll. Whatever he does, he needs to avoid that shoulder roll. Not only that, he can't be in a long-range boxing game with Lawrence Okolie. He can't, because he's not going to out-jab Okolie. He's not. His jab is okay, but it's obviously as a shorter man, you can out-jab a longer guy, but Chamberlain is not good enough to do that. Regardless of how primitive you think Okolie is, Chamberlain is not good enough to do that. So he needs to avoid that shoulder roll, and he needs to try and avoid boxing at range with Okolie, because he'll lose rounds and he could walk onto a big right hand. So to me, he needs to, like I said, 100% avoid the shoulder roll and only box at range when you have to. When he's not doing that, he needs to fight on the inside, because Okolie can't fight on the inside, period. He can't fight at all on the inside. So Chamberlain needs to get past that jab. He needs to go under it, or he needs to negate it somehow, get on the inside and try to work a body, come up with uppercuts and try and rough Okolie up on the inside. Because like I said, I just can't see this guy doing anything at range or when he's defensive. I can't see him doing anything. So to me, he needs to make the most of his subtle skills. He needs to make the most of his better boxing IQ and try to get on the inside. Because Chamberlain, he does know he can fight on the inside. He done it against Wadi Camacho when he had a dislocated shoulder. I've seen him do it against journeyman. He can fight on the inside. How well he does it, I'm not so sure, but he definitely does it a lot better than Lawrence Okolie. So to me, the key for Chamberlain is to get on the inside and try and work away, work to that body, come up with that uppercut, work in the clinch, maybe even, dare I say, put a head in there. He needs to rough Okolie up. Lawrence, to me, just needs to play the boxer puncher. Yeah, Lawrence is not exactly the most accurate. Lawrence doesn't have the best timing in the world, but ultimately, to me, it's only going to take one of those big shots to do some serious damage. Lawrence needs to keep pumping that jab, even if it's hitting gloves. He needs to keep Chamberlain at range, and he needs to try and time Chamberlain when he does try to get close. So use that right hand when Chamberlain is coming in, and he needs to try and catch him. And if he doesn't catch him, just keep popping that jab, pick up the rounds, because that's how I think Okolie needs to fight this fight. He can't afford to get in a war. He can't afford to get in a slugfest, because that suits Chamberlain to me. He's a snappier puncher. He's longer, so he needs to just stick on the outside and pop that jab and look for the big shots. Because like I said, if he does trade, Chamberlain is wily enough to get off some sharp counters and maybe do some damage up close. So to me, Okolie needs to fight at range and make the most of his physical attributes. I see Okolie as a favourite. I know a lot of people are picking Chamberlain, but my gut says Lawrence Okolie wins this fight. Firstly, one interesting thing about this fight, to me, obviously I've gone down the technical side of things. I feel Chamberlain's better, but I just feel the physical attributes of Okolie is going to be a lot to deal with. But not only that, I feel Lawrence Okolie is the much more naturally confident guy out of the two. I feel Okolie does have genuine self-belief. He signed for this fight right away. And he's supposed to be the Olympian. He's supposed to be the guy who is a prospect who gets everything handed to him. That's what I've seen a few people say. But he was the guy who signed the contract first. Isaac Chamberlain was umming and ahhing. he was kind of suggesting he wasn't being offered enough money, despite both guys apparently getting the same amount. So is Okolie the more confident guy going in? He's got a more brash personality. I know that doesn't always mean he's more confident, but to me, he just seems more sure of himself going into this fight. That's just what I see. That's how I perceive both guys' body language. That's how I perceive both guys' actions. To me, Lawrence Okolie just looks more... He looks more ready, basically. And I think that could play a part in fight night. I wouldn't be surprised to see Isaac Chamberlain look really sheepish in the ring. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him get stopped early, to be quite honest. I've seen a few people say that there is confidence issues with Isaac Chamberlain. I'm not sure how true that is, it's just what I've heard on the grapevine. So that could also be a factor come fight night. I'm going to go with a early to mid stoppage for Lawrence Okolie. I'm making my prediction video very early. For some reason, I'm really feeling Okolie to win this one. What do you guys think? When this fight was first talked about a few months back, I actually felt Chamberlain might have been the slight favourite. But I've really thought about it recently. I feel Okolie has been making some improvements. And I just feel right now, I just feel he's going to win this fight. What do you guys think? Peace.